contracts who have no shovel, they have no pick, are politicians, sandwiched with civil servants. Country was burning. I'm asking us here, and I'm not saying you, I'm saying us, to restore order in the public sector procurement. Let us restore order. Then we can lay a claim to be true servants of the people of Zambia. I know some ministers are already under pressure. I know. As you know, I'm now Chief Intelligence Officer. You are under pressure from the businesses that have lived like that and taking money from the people. Be strong, otherwise they will sweep you away and your relevance will disappear. And it will be clear. When your relevance disappears, it will be very clear. Permanent secretaries, you are the ones who are holding the keys. I'm looking all over. I don't know how you are seated. They are seated all over. They are all over. If we fail the people of Zambia going forward, it is you and the ministers. Yes, it is you. They are the chairman of what? You were telling me outside? Sorry? Permanent secretaries are the chairmen of the ministerial procurement committees. So every day they are the ones that are allowing things to happen, rightly or wrongly. So there's no escaping. And we will be watching very closely. I want to give an example of contracts that have been issued in the last 10 years. We're sitting, Minister of Local Government, where is he? On feeder roads, what is the debt we're sitting on? 14 billion?
Sitting on 3.5 billion. Budget allocation for the last 4 years of only 1.3 billion, sir. But what they signed up was 12.9 billion.
That's what I'm looking for.
Yes, sir. Although some of those contracts have not performed yet.
Yeah, thank you. That's the message I wanted. 12 billion kwacha signed for contracts entered into for feeder roads. Contracts were given to people who have never owned a shovel or a pick. They don't know how to construct roads. But some were paid 20% in advance. They sit in that parliament making noise. Very courageous people. That's the money which they were flashing, which you saw before elections. And I can sit in that parliament and talk. I wouldn't say a word. I'll be so embarrassed. But since shame is not shared equally amongst us, God made us differently, we have to enforce measures to collect that money. Minister of Local Government, I heard you talk in the House. You ended in the air there. You should have gone down to say that money is coming back to the Treasury. That's why they're making noise in that House called Parliament and touting us and saying, we're still running the country. Let's see. Let's see who is running the country. So in your area, this workshop is meant to encourage you to, which one, by deliberate decision, and you say you run a country, an equitable country. Which equitable country? There's a retention amount of 20% payable upon verification of the work being done, delivery being made done. It's also processes that led to come in there. I don't see. Where does the tribe come in? How possible is that 2 projects, overpriced projects, contract before any pocket of cement was bought. Another project has been done on site. Who is taking care of the people's interests? Quick numbers, right? 50 constituencies, 45 to 50. There's a claim on us that we have not performed. Pricing from that such conduct ended on the 12th to happen, while we are grappling on how to clean up the past. Everything we buy in government, services, but now there's no delivery, but there's a demand for more dollars in millions. What are the cost control measures? We don't have to go anywhere, everywhere unnecessarily. When we have to move, we must have a smaller delegation. Ministers, PSs, you're going for a meeting and you send people 1 week ahead of time. I hear before, when there was a UN General Assembly, 30 plus people went 2-3 weeks ahead to New York. Why not go a day before? 2 days if you are advance party. Smaller delegation, go as an advance party only to do what's necessary. With today's world, electronic age, you can have meetings, virtual meetings. Why go there a month before? We have led the way. UN General Assembly, we went the smallest delegation. I think we achieved a lot more than not any, don't want to be misunderstood, at least the previous delegation, the immediate previous delegation. We achieved more. Come back home quickly. No need to stay there. We want to shop. You can shop online now. You actually get the best suit online. You can order a tailor. Last trip to New York, we had to return people in Nairobi to say, who sent you there? Secretary Treasurer. Somehow people got tickets without even the leader of the delegation knowing. They were already on the way. And I was told, it's the custom, Mr. President, 100 people must go to the UN General Assembly. What? 100 people? Bring them back. Some were brought back. Let's avoid that. Permanent secretaries. Who is issuing travel tickets willy-nilly? For who? For what? A particular lady was traveling in one of the departments, and the system brought me the information. New York, Washington, every now and then. New York, Washington, first business class, first class, Washington, New York. What is she doing?
Thank you. And some corrective recommendations. The objective of the presentation is as follows: to review some of the key procurement and contract management weaknesses that were highlighted in the recently issued report of the Auditor General on the accounts of the Republic for the year ended 31st December 2020. We discuss the possible causes behind the weaknesses and make some corrective recommendation. The mandate of the office in relation to procurement, under Article 250, Sub-Article 1 of the Constitution of Zambia, Amendment Act number 2 of 2016, it empowers the office to, among other functions, conduct financial and value for money audits, including forensic audits and any other type of audit in respect of management of public resources. It's from this article where the office is able to include procurements in the routine audits or perform special standalone procurement audits. The nature of audits are as follows. There are two aspects of audit of procurement. There is what we call procurement proceedings and contract management. In auditing procurement proceedings, the office looks at stages from procurement planning, bid solicitation, bid evaluation, and contract award to contract signing. In auditing contract management, the office looks at contract execution activities from signing of the contract, payment of interim payment certificate, IPCs, monitoring and evaluation of contracts, supervision through to contract completion. The weaknesses that we observed in procurement proceedings in the 2020 report. The 2020 report of the Auditor General highlighted several weaknesses relating to procurement proceedings, such as unplanned for procurements, failure to confirm budget provisions and availability of funds as required by law, recommending to award non-responsive bids, awarding contracts to bidders that overpriced their bids or those that did not have the capacity to deliver, failure to obtain the Attorney General's clearance in some instances before contract signing or making variations as provided by the law, signing of contracts by unauthorized persons, failure to abide by the financing agreements which potentially led to delays in payment. The causes of these weaknesses, various factors including the following among others cause these weaknesses: not undertaking a thorough needs assessment, failing to confirm budget provisions and availability of funds prior to procurement, lack of transparency when making invitation to bids, biased and compromised bid evaluation process and composition of evaluation teams, pressure or the need to complete the works urgently, leading to failure to obtain required approvals and clearance, lack of standardized credit policy. If I may just expand on this, you find that we don't have a proper credit policy in government. That's why you have issues where people complain that how come this one has been paid when me have not been paid? Because we don't get things and give the suppliers that you'll be paid in the next 45 days or you'll be paid in the next 30 days. It's a hazard. This one supplies today is paid tomorrow. This one supplies today is paid after a year. So we need to standardize the credit period where the suppliers should be able to know that when I supply to government, I'll be paid in the following month or during this period. Also, circumventing procurement guidelines in order to defraud the government. Lack of capacity to understand the procurement processes and procedures. Failure to pay attention to contract details. And signing contracts that do not protect government or public interest. We have now a process to manage the contract after signing the contract. The weaknesses that we have found, in addition to the weaknesses relating to procurement proceedings in the 2020 report of the Auditor General, highlighted several weaknesses relating to now contract management, which includes the following: failure to execute the contract as per agreed terms and conditions, resulting in wasteful expenditure in form of interest and penalty charges. I have to expand, Your Excellency, on this point. We have seen some of the phenomena that is happening on this, penalties and interest. For some reason, institutions are supposed to pay, for argument's sake, 10 million. They will pay 9 million, leave 1 million. Well, that 1 million will attract interest after not paying as prescribed times. And again, for some reason, they will pay 900,000, leave 1,000. And again, after some time, that 1,000 attracts interest. Again, they don't finish paying this. Again, they will leave another amount not paid. Again, that amount attracts interest. And this keeps on going. This is a phenomenon that we have observed which needs to be looked at. Again, there is another weakness in receiving goods, services, and works that were not in conformity with what was procured. Failing to enforce contract provisions that protect government interests, such as not encashing performance bonds when contractors fail to deliver. Also, you find that when the road has been constructed or a building has been constructed and we are within the defect liability period, and there is some deformity that has been observed, from government we are not enforcing. But when there is a problem on the other side from the contractors, we are quick to respond. The other is failure to appoint contract managers, failure to understand the details of contract provisions. We have also noted that they are making full payments before, like the President observed, before receiving procured goods, services, and works, exposing government to risk of non-performance by contractors and suppliers. We have also observed making full payments for partially delivered goods, services, and works, delayed in completion of works, and failure to reclaim advances, and failure to track payments under a contract. This has been a very big problem. Some contracts that were entered into some time back, because we are not maintaining our books properly, we have observed that we can't track when we started paying and what we have paid and what is supposed to be paid as a balance. So we keep on paying. The causes of contract management weaknesses include the following: failure to properly study and critically review the terms of the contracts before signing the contracts. This has led to agreeing to terms and conditions that disadvantage government, resulting in penalties and interest charges. Deliberately floating the public procurement guidelines in relation to variations and contract amendments so as to benefit from the process. Poor supervision of contractors and suppliers, resulting to short works and delivery of inferior goods and services. Inadequate and delayed engagement with Ministry of Finance and Attorney General in variation and contract amendments, resulting in contract changes that are poorly funded with terms that are adverse to the public interest. Failure to maintain proper books of accounts, thereby failing to track amounts paid and outstanding. This potentially leads to overpayment. These are the recommendations, among others, that we have made. One, punitive action against those that are fraudulently, recklessly, or incompetently committing public bodies in various contracts or mismanagement of contracts. Undertaking thorough procurement needs assessment. careful planning of procurement proceedings so that pitfalls are addressed ahead of commencement, monitoring of proceedings to ensure the procurement plans are implemented successfully. Create a structure that will supervise procurement entities at Ministry of Finance. Your Excellency, this one we have seen is a structural problem. We seem not to have a very strong supervision on PPEs, which are procurement, public procurement entities in 9 ministries. There was a study that was done since the ZPP was transformed into a regulator. There's need for the directorate or some vehicle which will be able to look after the interest of all the procurement entities in all 9 ministries. It is very key to do this reform so that they are supervised, monitored effectively. It is also important to understand the cash flow seasonalities and match them with the expenditure. Your Excellency, on this one is the issues to do with the way we pay our contractors or our suppliers. The ministry responsible for making the finances available should understand when they have money, when the revenues are coming, so that they match those revenues against the potential pressure payments points. You agree that there are times when we need to pay for fertilizer. At that point, the ministry responsible for finances should ensure that they match that the revenues that are coming, we are going to pay for fertilizer. We have seen that some of the challenges that are downstream are upstream because we are unable to provide the resources according to the pressure points when we need those payments because of not paying particular attention to the cash flow projections and expenditure projections. Thank you. I end my presentation here, Your Excellency. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Auditor General. With that presentation, Mr. President, we'll go into a plenary session, which will allow the honorable ministers and permanent secretaries present and the high table to engage on the presentation that has been made so far. Any interventions? Yes, honorable minister.
Okay, thank you, Acting Secretary of Cabinet. Listening to the Auditor General, or this is the Minister of Education, listening to the Auditor General, and probably this is not a question per se, but to observe something, I realized that the number of weaknesses he pointed out has a human element to it, that everybody understands those weaknesses, and I think everybody understood those weaknesses. We still understand those weaknesses. What I see here is the human behavior and the human element, which needs to be, if you like, strictly observed. I understand that all these weaknesses, people who were doing all these things are educated people who could easily read. They can read the act, they can read this and that. The Attorney General who could sign off these contracts, equally is a learned person. They did that. So I tend to feel that we must do a break on systems failure. I understand the President was saying that some people want even to become more powerful. Where do we break this that no one can be as powerful as the state? Arguably, state institutions actually failed. How do we start bringing state institutions to be more powerful than individuals, than any government, so that any government that comes to the fore or comes to rule, institutions which are strong? So for me, strictly speaking, It is not about how we are going to see weaknesses, how do we do what and what. It's about starting to build state institutions so that any other government can come and fit in that institution. So in my view, whilst we are learning all this, of course, we have teething problems. Our view must be by the end of our 5-year term is that we build stronger institutions which cannot be overridden by individuals, and everybody wanting not to do certain things that were being done without fear, and also people to be able to serve. Because I tend to think that during Kaunda's days, all of us who were brought up, even if we were young, things were working differently. People used to fear to do certain things. One would fear even to get chalk. If you are a teacher, don't get chalk which is not yours. So I think on the way, there's something which went wrong. Systems failed, and we must be looking at really creating systems of the state, that the state institutions must be more powerful than individuals, than governments themselves. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. We'll take another one, and then we'll come back to the discussion. We'll have Honorable Nkombo, followed by Honorable Minister of Lands and Honorable Minister of Livestock.
Thank you very much, Acting Secretary to Cabinet. Thank you very much, Auditor General, for your presentation. I wanted to find out from you, sir, how well you collaborate on a day-to-day basis with all the audit queries that you experience in line with the existence of the ZPPA. In the case of the examples His Excellency the President gave in the ministry that I'm privileged to run or superintend over, it is clear that many a time the ZPPA are not even involved to assist in getting contractors engaged by government, which contractors must give the correct service or good at the right price and at the right time. What I see coming from the opposition is that it appears your office just reports things as they are without remedial measures. Has there been any deliberate action or move to collaborate with ZPPA so that these things stopped to reoccur every year? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. We'll move to Minister of Lands.
Thank you. Auditor General, thank you very much for your presentation. For an effective financial control, there must be controls in place to reduce the risks. I don't know how you're integrating your office. Your office's external audit with internal auditors' work. It would appear all these reports are passing through the internal audit. The government has a setup of internal audit everywhere. What mechanism is in place to ensure that internal audit, which is part of the controls, is effective, and also you are supposed to monitor it? Have we evaluated how our internal internal auditors are performing? Secondly, on the consultants, we have seen much of the work done in Zambia, AG roads. They don't last. They can be constructed, especially for the past 10 years, constructed within 2 years, they start developing potholes. What has been done to the consultants? You go to South Africa, go to England, go to Germany,